It's quite tough times for Ubisoft. Guys, we just got the Assassin's Creed Shadows final preview from IGN. We're gonna check this out. We're gonna check also some very funky bugs people have found online. And also we can see here that the people's reaction to the trailer is pretty dismal. As you can see here, 15,000 dislikes, only 4,700 likes. The question is, can Ubisoft still save the game and themselves in March 2025? Well, we shall find out. But first and foremost, let's just check this preview because it has stuff which I'm like, what the hell were you thinking, Ubisoft? Like, what were you thinking? Anyway, let's start, guys.
After spending several hours finally playing Assassin's Creed Shadows after multiple delays, the next entry keeps up with the satisfying action and traversal that the series is known for, but it also showcases a sharper eye for world building and giving its two protagonists their time in the spotlight. From my time sneaking through fortresses, taking in the sweeping vistas of the open world, and pulling off slick combat finishers, I got to see just how developer Ubisoft Quebec has improved its balancing act of satisfying action, RPG systems, and rewarding open-ended exploration in a captivating new setting that's been long overdue.
Now, I must say, the graphics look really nice, so as a first, the game looks great. But the question is, how is the enjoyment going to follow through in the game? That's the big question here.
Since Assassin's Creed Origins in 2017, the series has stayed comfortably within the realm of the open-world RPG, offering an expanded scope and narrative decisions to alter the course of the story. While this shift has led to some growing pains for the franchise, it has gotten a better handle on the additional layers to gameplay without compromising the fantasy of being an ancient assassin. With Shadows, the latest attempt at an Assassin's Creed RPG shows that Ubisoft may have also cracked the code on the role-playing element with its two unique protagonists, something the series has struggled to present in a way that hasn't muddied the narrative waters.
Yes, kid. It'll be quicker if I go.
Shadows sets its sights on a new mystery deep within a revamped Animus program. In this new simulation, we focus on feudal-era Japan and the secret history of both Yosuke, an historical African slave who became a full-fledged samurai, and Naue, a female...
So they're just going to say that outright, which is there's no even proof that he was actually a full-fledged samurai, but you know, there you have it, IGN. Going with the notes from Thomas Lockley, which he himself said that he was basically boosting himself on Wikipedia. But anyway, let's just ignore that for a second. Just ignore it.
Shinobi taking up the mantle of her father's legacy. The pair eventually team up to navigate a radically changing 1500s Japan, rubbing shoulders with other historical allies such as Oda Nobunaga and Kuroda Kanbei, while taking down a shadowy cabal of warlords manipulating the country's attempt at unification from within.
It is possible you hold ulterior motives beyond reconstruction.
Damn! One of Kanbei's dogs. Kill them!
I spent most of my playtime exploring Harima Province, one of the early zones that featured a quest line involving an insidious plot to undermine the region's power structure. The world of Assassin's Creed Shadows is massive, but
Quite big.
thankfully not to the ridiculous size of Valhalla. That said, plenty of opportunities were packed in this province, and the viewpoints to observe nearby points of interest helped steer me in the right direction. A general theme I found compelling was how Shadows emphasized harmonizing with the open world, a cultural element the developers wanted to highlight with the Japanese setting.
For all those we care about.
This theme also extends to the side activities and how the world changes over time with shifting seasons that alter the terrain. Shadows ditches the need for hunting, and instead, you can find and draw rare wildlife found in the wild. It was an odd activity at first, but I found them endearing and a relaxing change of pace. I soon found myself being taken in by how atmospheric and thoughtful the setting was.
That was worth the wait.
Okay.
Shadows also emphasizes the dynamic between the two protagonists and their agency within the world after bonding over being outcasts within the country. I really enjoyed their dynamic within the story, and they play well with each other during cutscenes. Yasuke is a gentle giant and wise samurai enforcer who offers some poignant insights while learning about Japanese culture.
The reigns will continue in a different form. Another battle, same war.
Naoe's growth into an assassin with a heavy legacy to uphold shows an early look at the dramatic highs of the main story. You're free to switch off characters in the open world and during moments in the main story, letting you play as who you want in most key missions.
You're right. Let's do it.
But in an interesting addition, you also have the option of playing in canon mode, which presents a defined story without major narrative choices, which was added after developers saw how many fans were debating what the definitive story was for Valhalla and Odyssey.
So it is you.
Yasuke and Naoe also represent the different extremes of Assassin's Creed's combat and stealth experiences, which have also seen clear upgrades across the board in Shadows. For combat, there's a heightened need for dodging and parrying strikes, crucial to piercing through armor to deliver a killing blow. It injects Ghost of Tsushima's offensive and defensive style of swordplay, but it also has familiar AC combat skills.
There we have it, Ghost of Tsushima. So they literally copied, or they tried to copy Ghost of Tsushima combat because their combat system was quite crappy. But, you know, kudos to them for actually taking inspiration from a very, very good combat system like Ghost of Tsushima.
Such as power grabs and the always funny kick move I used plenty of times.
Yeah, get that kick in.
I generally felt pleased with the more thoughtful approach to combat. However, it also comes with more challenges, which unexpectedly made some of the encounters in the game feel a bit more difficult.
That's because you don't know how to dodge.
Shadows also struggled to present fights with multiple foes accurately, and it can be easy to get overwhelmed by enemies coming in off-screen. Still, when the new combat in Shadows hits, it certainly does hit. What impressed me most was the revamped stealth gameplay, which appropriately incorporates elements from Ubisoft's other stealth action series, Splinter Cell.
That should be all of them.
With the new visibility meter, you can see how open you are.
I need to slow down. Identify my target.
Furthermore, there's a greater emphasis on light and darkness. You can even snuff out candles to add some cover. My favorite addition is the ability to go prone, which, as you can expect, is a game changer for stealth. Playing stealth with Naoe was so satisfying, and it does well to showcase just how much that gameplay style has improved.
Finally, this is actually pretty cool.
Both characters can combat and stealth. They also have clear limitations. For instance, Yasuke is a formidable fighter and is capable of ambushing enemies. However, his large stature is not ideal for advanced stealth.
Yasuke just like straight on crazy.
Incapable of climbing certain areas, he's also not great at performing the leap of faith.
It is harder than it looks.
As for Naoe, she's a skilled assassin with access to a grappling hook and smoke bombs. However, her nimble combat style is far more reliant on parrying and dodging, and one hit from an elite enemy's heavy strike can take a chunk of her health bar. While pulling off Naoe's combat skills was satisfying, I often had to resist the urge to take out every enemy and run for it when things got out of hand. Continuing with Assassin's Creed Valhalla, you can manage and upgrade a base of operations. As you recruit allies, they'll head to your hideout to open up shops and offer new side missions that incentivize revisits to previous zones. But Shadows takes this feature a step further by allowing you to build out your custom village in the vein of Animal Crossing. The Town Builder mode offers plenty of options to add necessities and some personal touches to the hideout. I spent an unexpected amount of time building more housing and decorating my space with Shinto shrines.
Like, what are we doing here? Like, what? This is so unnecessary. I just don't understand. What's the freaking point of having this? Wasting time and resources and money on creating this hideout thing, which after like 2 hours it becomes redundant, annoying, boring. You just want to go there to do the mission, to get the new mission, like he said, because they unlock new, areas and whatever. But do we really need to have this like open space and putting random virtual pets and going there and visiting them? Are people actually going to waste their time on this? Seriously? I mean, are we serious here? This is what happens with AAA developers. They don't understand that gamers want proper gameplay, not to spend their time building a virtual house in an action-adventure game. If people want to do that, they're gonna play Animal Crossing, not Assassin's Creed. It's just like, honestly, guys, I just don't know what's in their head.
Shrines and pets, such as cats and tanuki. There are also side activities, such as a visually striking meditation minigame to help you earn additional perks. It's an unexpectedly cozy side activity for an AC game, and I was quickly taken in by how satisfying it was to walk around a massive village I had made in a reasonably short time. So far, Assassin's Creed Shadows is shaping up to be a solid follow-up to Ubisoft's ambitious Valhalla. Even if the familiar crop of open-world bugs and quirks popped up during my time, I still found a great deal to appreciate with Shadows and its world building. While this conceit is not an uncommon backdrop for video games, which can be easy to mess up with insensitive representation, Assassin's Creed Shadows so far does well to justify its take on an open-world RPG set during this culturally rich era, especially in its handling of the two protagonists. With the release finally coming soon, I'm eager to see how Ubisoft's take on Assassin's Creed's journey to Japan will come together.
Alright, so that's it. So. Why is it that people don't like it that much, right? Because it looks okay, but there's some problems here. Like, the combat looks, I don't know, looks okay, but it can get especially repetitive. I saw the video from Skill Up from his YouTube channel, and he said himself that the combat with Yasuke is extremely boring. He is like so overpowered, and because he is, this is by the way some glitches I saw, and I just had to share with you guys. It's just crazy. But yeah, let's be on the point. Like in Skill Up in his video, he talked exactly about that, about the fact that the gameplay itself with Yasuke was so boring, and he didn't expect that. Whereas with Naoe it was much more interesting because Yasuke has so many limitations. He can't even grapple properly. He doesn't have a grapple. He can't even go up vertically. His exploration skills are really low. So Yasuke is basically just for combat. He is there for kicking ass. That is literally it, right? Everything else you have to rely on Naoe. So it's almost like they put him there as a playable character just to get the diversity points. That's how it feels like, right? Now we have this comment here. This is really good, right? Ubisoft, please. Your devs can't even program dog petting properly. I actually saw here they have a glitch here where they wanted to pet a dog and they failed. Yeah, so they couldn't pet the dog.
He's not sure.
He's not sure. We're not cool like that yet. Don't worry, I will earn your.
Yeah, so that was a problem there where they couldn't even pet the dog because they had a bug in the gameplay. But anyway, let's just ignore that for a second, right? You basically stepped on the tail of the country, and Culture Game is supposed to pay homage by passing off an expat's fan fiction as historical fact because, yeah, Thomas Lockley, who kind of wrote his articles, Ubisoft took inspiration from his Wikipedia articles, and they were just his point of view. It wasn't even like set in stone historically. Your sensitivity consultants could not even do their homework properly and greenlit your release of the game on March 20th, a very tragic date for the Japanese. If you look it up, March 20th was the most and biggest terror attack in Japan, which happened in the subways, and many more oopsies that you did you zero favors. Now you have the gal to try to sell your expansion pack despite your base game not even out yet. Props for being this brazen, I guess. We got like showing that, yeah, if you pre-order the game, you're gonna get this for free. But yeah, let's just check some of the comments because, you know, people have spoken, right? I have been training for many years to master my ultimate technique, the closed wallet. Right. This guy reviewed Halo 4 back in 2012 and said it was the best Halo ever made. Never forget it, guys. Don't trust anything he says. 4,045 likes, 14,000 dislikes. IGN loves that Ubisoft add money. Not turning off comments, a bold move. This guy was 1000% paid off. Historical. IGN making its own history. My biggest issue, and it's a small thing that could so easily be fixed, but has remained an issue since Origins, is the lack of any facial expressions from the NPCs when talking. They all, protagonists included, much of the time look like they barely care about what they're saying. Honestly, this just feels like a 10-minute commercial. This is like the type of games that end on Epic Game Launcher freebies but you never actually play. Let's go, modern audience is gonna love this. Ghost of Tsushima from Temu. Sorry, but IGN has lost all credibility. Any good review I see by them now tells me to wait for sale or skip altogether. It's weird that it took until 2025 for Assassin's Creed to let us go prone. Los, stop doubling down on the historical thing. It's embarrassing. You don't have to say it. They're just punching themselves for nothing. This guy legit just called Yasuke a historical character, and after the entire nation of Japan was so upset over this falsehood, they almost took legal action. The absolute state of journalism today is so bad. Where's the Japanese samurai? Oh my god. Once again, no, Yasuke did not and could not become a full-fledged samurai. Stop with the revisionism. It's sickening. Oh my god, this is crazy, right? Now, if you go to the skill ups, because obviously he put a video skill up, and then he said basically like, very important. He says, I wasn't having much fun with Assassin's Creed Shadows, hands-on impression, and in his video he basically said here that with Yasuke, it was really hard to kind of feel good playing with him because he was so clunky and all he was good at is just pretty much combat. That's it, right?
Can do some very limited parkour, but he's much slower while doing it, and you can see him really struggling to mantle up ledges or whatever. And yes, that feels very authentic and believable, but I never really wanted an Assassin's Creed character who can't parkour well, and now that I've got one, I definitely don't like it. There are also harsher limitations on Yasuke's parkour that are frankly kind of annoying. So when you're not in the middle of a main mission, you can actually freely switch between Nawe and Yasuke by opening the menu and holding down a button. At that point, you enter a loading screen, the world repopulates around you, and you're standing in roughly the same spot as you were before, but as the other character. When I sat down for my playthrough, I really wanted to play as Yasuke as much as possible because, to be honest, I'm actually really interested in his storyline. So I chose Yasuke at the start of my playthrough, and in typical AC fashion, I opened up my map so I could see the nearest synchronization tower. That unlocked loads of map markers for me, helped me get my bearings, etc. I see the tower, I mark it, I head over to it, and I begin climbing it, and no sooner do I do that than Yasuke says this.
Now we could reach the top of that pagoda if she wanted to challenge.
This was the game's way of telling me that Yasuke actually can't climb this tower, only Nawe can. She has a grappling hook that lets her rappel straight up, whereas Yasuke can't do that. And so in order to sink this tower, I had to open up the menu, sit through the loading screen, load in as Nawe, climb the tower, and then switch back to Yasuke. Again, I never asked for an Assassin's Creed main character who couldn't climb a tower, and I don't think forcing me to change characters to get the job done was particularly smart design. So that's an example of how a lot of AC Shadows works, in that the level design is built to accommodate two separate characters with two distinct playstyles. And that example is one where it's kind of silly, But there are other examples where it's actually kind of interesting. The previous slice we played culminated in a final mission that involved ascending a tower to assassinate someone, and these missions are very structured in that they have cutscenes at the end of each of the scoreboards so I could get past a locked door. So it is really heading toward them. The one spin on this was kind of a bummer actually. At one point the game introduces me to something called the Scout system, which on paper sounds really cool. The way it's explained is that Yasuke and Naoe are cultivating a network of spies, and that by feeding them the necessary supply resources, you can dispatch these spies/scouts to distant lands to scout ahead for you. And okay, that sounds pretty cool, right? Like, I'm imagining these scouts are NPCs that I meet and recruit. They have personalities, maybe a bit of banter. Maybe they run up to me while I'm out exploring the world to, report their findings, etc. All of those were very incorrect assumptions. What the scout system actually is a map pinging system. At various points, you'll get clues about where to go next, just as they've done in previous AC games, actually. So they'll say...
Yeah, so that's also a thing with the scouts, is nothing special. And also the combat system with Yasuke, like, he is just so powerful, like, he just brute force to everything. And Skill Up actually said in his video here that when he was playing effectively, like, he could, like, literally not die with Yasuke. Like, he was just fighting, and because he's so powerful, so strong, so, like, head-on, like, he was just literally just bashing enemies through straight away, and he just could not die with Yasuke because he was so damn strong. It was just ridiculous.
Again, I don't think modern AC combat has ever been particularly good, but you also had other tools to rely on, so you weren't fighting all of the time. But as Yasuke, you're fighting all of the time, and it's the same combat from previous AC games, which is very sloppy and animation paired, resulting in limbs teleporting everywhere, and the whole thing feels very arcadey. The bigger problem with it is that Yosuke is incredibly fast.
Yeah.
The speed of his strikes, how short his animation recovery times are, how quickly he can dodge and how much distance he covers during those dodges, the speed of his various special moves and how he sort of streaks like a bolt of lightning across the battlefield. He's meant to be this massive lumbering force of nature, but none of that power is communicated through his combat because he seems just as spry, quick, and agile as Naoe is. Plus, Yasuke is like borderline invincible. I don't think I died once while playing with him for 3.5 hours. He deals so much damage, he is so fast and so resilient that it's legitimately difficult to die. Just to give you an example of how much of a unit this man is, he can obviously burst through doors when you sprint. It's how Yasuke progresses through levels where Naoe has to find another way around. But Yasuke isn't just limited to charging through wooden doors, he can also charge through concrete balustrades.
I mean, that's the thing, guys. I mean, this is where I'm going to end the video. So effectively, we can see clearly that the problem here is that the most important problem is here that Yasuke was kind of inserted into the video game as a diversity character, like just because of the diversity requirement for the ESG investors. Because, like, he's only useful for combat, that's it. Like, everything else you have to rely on Naoe for exploration, for climbing up, for synchronizing. Yasuke is literally a one-trick pony. Crazy combat. That is literally it, right? And it's almost like, why? Like, why do you want to do that? And it's just cumbersome. You have to change character. You have to wait for a loading screen to kind of change the character every single damn time. It just feels like unnecessary and cumbersome. And I just don't get it, right? It just doesn't make any sense. But guys, that's it for today's video on this one. Quite a shame, but at the same time, I am not surprised. People are not that happy with AC Shadows, and in this one, where Skill Up is kind of criticizing the game, we see that people are more in favor of this particular criticism. Whereas with the IGN, we saw that people are literally not liking the review or the preview whatsoever. So yeah, guys, let me know what you think in the comments. It's quite an interesting one. I'm not sure, I mean, this one as well. So I played AC Shadows early, not impressed. Again, we have here from Mr. Matty Plays, and he says, so I played AC Shadows early and he wasn't really impressed. So again, I have concerns. So things could be quite bad for Ubisoft if the game does not sell at least 20 million copies, which I personally, at this point, I just don't see it possible, guys. That's the problem. And yeah, it's quite obvious because, they shot themselves in the foot. Anyway, guys, that's it for today's video. See you later in the next one.